Hello. Welcome to my channel. My name is Anna, and in today's episode I would love to share with you my recommendations, I would say, how to spin fine yarn. This could be quite daunting for beginners because it's like you have to learn how to walk again. Pretty much similar feeling, but as long as you're practicing and you're getting better and better in your coordination, your legs work independently, you don't think about it, your hands are doing what they're supposed to do in a rhythm, which creates a nice sequence between the length and how much twist you put on your yarn. So if you fancy to learn a new skill on in a way how you make your yarn, so I would love to share with you. Okay, so first of all, I would like to say that spinning finer yarn takes longer, obviously, because you're going through the small amount of fibers to twist. So if you get, for example, 50 grams of your fibers and spin it thick or relatively medium thickness, so when you spin fine yarn, it makes sense that it will take you longer. So because of that, I hardly recommend service your wheel before you start spinning. So clean all dust, some fibers which already stuck to any parts of your wheel. Oil it. It's very important, because when you spin for quite long, at least 2-4 hours, your legs, your hands, your back, getting sore. So the smoother your wheel works, the better, the easier your work gonna be. Second one, bobbins. I will show you what you need to do with bobbin. So pretty much from any wheel bobbins, they have quite small diameter on the surface when your yarn gonna be applied. So if you able to get isolation for pipes and match the diameter of your bobbin more or less, so you need to cut a piece of it which goes quite tightly between your round bits of your bobbin, because when you spin fine yarn and it gets in between, it's gonna be quite stressful when you're gonna apply it. Okay, so you put it on your bobbin, and what does it do for you? It's increased diameter of your bobbin, and it's very useful because the length around it is the length of your yarn, which gonna be wrapped around just for one circle. And when it's a bit bigger, it means you for one round you get a more length of the bobbin. That's the reason why. And the technical moment is just to synchronize the sequence of how often your bobbin rotated and how much yarn you're gonna fit on your bobbin. Okay, so don't worry about technical moments, just bear in mind that bigger diameter of your bobbin is gonna be very handy. And of course you can say you can have a bobbin with already some old project spun yarn on it. Yes, you can, but the thing is, this material is much lighter. So obviously, if you need to spin a lighter bobbin, you need to use less force for it. Okay, that's what's about bobbin. And what sort of wool you can use for just to spin fine yarn? There's a few important things you have to remember. Your fibers need to be medium length. It's quite difficult to spin fine yarn from long stumbles. And obviously the finer fibers, the better. I'm sure you all know that the magic of spinning is when you get fibers, and if they loose, they break apart easily. But if you put a twist on it, it's quite difficult to break. Yeah. So when you're choosing fibers for spinning fine yarn, you need to make sure it is finer fibers, so silk, merino, anything which is quite fine, and they need to be prepared for spinning. The best it is drum carder, hand carders, or any other tools which help you to open up and loosen up fibers. I'm using my freshly carded bat. If you decided to use a bat or any Rolex or anything which been carded quite some time ago and been stored in a box or in the bags for some time, I hardly recommend to recard it, because while your fibers laying, they get compressed. You need nice and airy fibers to spin finely. Another example, if you have beautiful hand dye tops or even commercially made tops, again you need to fluffen up. If you want to keep the color of the dye, you need to make sure it's nice and fluffy. So if you push it, if you pre-draft it, what's gonna happen? The length of each block of color gonna expand. So if you don't want that, fair enough. Just you have to take very thin bit of your top and fluffle up. Sorry, can't pronounce it. So you need to make it fluffy just across. Okay, something like that. So when you're holding it, all fibers you pretty much can see through. They're nice, airy and very loose. Why is that important? Because when you're gonna draft it for spinning, again, it's a long process. When you spin finer fibers, it takes a lot of time. You don't want your hands constantly be in working out on a stiff material. You want it nice and loose. which come out easy in a small amount. That's it. Right, so shall we have a look at the spinning? And now I would love to have a look at the spinning wheel. So I'm using my bobbin with this diameter extension on the bobbin, and my wheel has two gear settings. One is slowest, one a bit faster. So I'm using the fastest one, and this smaller gear which connects to the flyer, I use the smallest, which makes bobbin and flyer go faster. That's my personal preference. So when you're spinning finer or fine yarn, I hardly recommend have very little tension or no tension at all. Why? So if you have too much tension, obviously the yarn will receive less twist, and you're gonna have it's breaking up all the time. So what is your goal is to get a certain speed on the bobbin under as little tension as possible. So in this case, your yarn will have enough time to get enough twist to become nice and strong. Right, I think that's what I tried to say. So again, I recommend to use the fastest gear combination on your wheel. As little as possible tension, and you need to increase the diameter of your bobbin. Right. And before you start spinning, please make sure you have a bit of pull. So if you don't feel any pull on the bobbin when you're spinning, put tiny bit of tension. Right, so shall we try first hand-dyed tops. So, as I told you, you need to flap a bit, make fibers nice and loose, especially if it spends some time somewhere in the storage. I have a little loop on the end of my leader, so I put the end of my fibers through that loop and let it join each other. When you start spinning, what you need to do, every time you pinch the same thickness, and don't let to get it thinner in here. So while it's just the feel on your fingers, every time you pinch, you make sure you're pinching more or less the same amount of fibers. It's only experience, but it's not impossible. That's pretty much what you need to do. And having less fibers in your holding hand is actually good help, so you don't overload with fibers in between your fingers, and you're always in control of how much fibers you're pinching out and drafting out of the main amount of fibers. And and as you can see, probably better like this, it's quite thin, quite fine, and it's, you know, quite even as well. There's not much difference when you spin your butt in a fine yarn. So I normally tear a bit of it, and because it's still thick, quite big, I pre-draft it to reduce the amount of fibers I will have on the first place in my hands. Just gently pre-draft it, make it even more open and loose, and that makes it's much easier to spin, and it's less stress on your fingers, less pain. Okay, so I'm gonna join it. Okay, and everything pretty much the same. Try to pinch out the same amount of fibers, and don't draft it too far, so in this case you won't have breakage of your yarn. That pretty much all how it works, but a bit of preparation of your wool, checking settings on your wheel, and basically determination to get the best result as possible. So as you see, it's all achievable. There's no rocket science, and I hope this video helped you with some moments which been confusing or not clear. And well, happy spinning, everybody. I hope this video was useful for you, so if it's so, please subscribe and give us thumbs up. Okay, see you soon, bye.